All right, everybody, welcome out to the Lager Room. It is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. First show of 2021, folks. Jersey Johnny coming at you. With me, as always, is Mr. Beer Samurai. Say hello, Mr. Samurai.
Hey everyone, happy National Bird Day.
Happy National Bird Day. Today is National Bird Day, is it not?
Our feathered friends.
Our feathered friends, our fine feathered friends. They are
They
fine.
Some are fine.
Some are fine, some are not.
Some just crap all over everything.
Hey, usually that's the case. Well, there's a lot of things that crap all over everything. It's not just
Not just the birds.
Not just the birds, yeah. So, but speaking of that, yesterday was actually National Trivia Day.
Was it?
It was National Trivia Day. So, based on that,
Missed that.
throughout the show today, I think I might ask you an occasional trivia question. You can ask me one. Maybe our guest can ask one. And folks, any of you out there that want to ask a trivia question, by all means, write in, and we will certainly get to your trivia questions if we can. But I got one for you right now, Mr. Samurai.
Right now, putting me on the spot. Huh?
Putting right on the spot, right out of the gate. My question to you is: what bird was developed by crossbreeding Oriental Malays with Italian Leghorns?
The leghorn thing kind of give it away. And considering I live in the state, it is the state bird. That would be the Rhode Island red, Johnny.
The Rhode Island red hen. Wow.
Yes.
Look at that. So, yeah, well,
lovely eggs.
Lovely eggs. Lovely eggs. So, well, there's a reason that we wanted to pertain that question to Rhode Island, is there not?
Yeah. We talk about industry news all the time. We'll bring up news here and there, but sometimes there's some news that you get that
you just don't want.
You don't want it, but it also comes outside of that. So right now I'm pouring the shirt is a knock it off shirt.
Yeah.
My knock it off glass, and I'm drinking something called Abstract Wizardry by proclamation. And John, if you do me a favor and open your first beer, you don't have to show it now, but open it up because we're going to need this in a moment. A little over a week ago, the Rhode Island beer community took a punch to the gut. David Whittam, I think I'm pronouncing it properly. I never had the pleasure of meeting the man. I may have at the brewery, but he was the founder and owner of Proclamation Ales. He passed away on Christmas. Month prior, he'd been diagnosed with cancer, and it took him quickly. So, hearing this, I remember going online to the Rhode Island beer groups and just the outpouring. Everyone was drinking a Proc. The pictures of him, the one with the unicorn head, it was, he's going to be missed in the community. My heart goes out to his family, his wife and daughter, the Proclamation family, and also the whole Rhode Island, craft beer community. This is a big loss. So here's to you, Dave.
Here's to you, Dave.
Yeah, and that's a good beer.
Yes.
Now, John, I know I couldn't get any Proc to you on time because the state of the of all the delivery services at the moment, and the box that finally did arrive to you did not have a Proc in it, so I apologize for that. What did you wind up opening?
I actually opened a Smug Nemesis.
There's my go-to.
Your go-to beer, Smug Nemesis. It is a session IPA. I believe it's 4.9, somewhere in there. But before we get into our beers, what we're drinking, there's somebody else we want to add to the show here.
Well, from what I understand, you were looking for a beer. You couldn't find a beer.
I was looking for a beer. I couldn't find a beer. Sold out everywhere.
And you know what? I think our guest needs to answer to this.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show none other than Mr. Jason Goldstein, owner of Icarus Brewing in Lakewood, New Jersey. How are you, Jason?
Good. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Happy New Year.
You too.
But why can't Johnny find your beer?
I would tell him he should look harder. We do on Facebook every single day where we're delivering to.
Well,
I get it. Like, that's a tough thing to follow where it clearly lists locations day by day, but I'm not here to judge you.
Clearly I didn't drive more than 12 miles out from my house. Otherwise I could have just come to you, but that was besides the point.
Yeah. There's always next time.
There's always next
all,
time.
all the way down there in Lakewood.
All the way down there in Lakewood, yeah. That whole 12-minute ride for me.
At least
But
you don't have to worry about baseball traffic right now.
This is true.
Definitely no baseball traffic. Definitely no short traffic right now.
That is for sure. So what are you drinking right now? I'm just
So-
gonna go out on a limb and say it's an Icarus beer. Just guessing.
Yeah. So
Where did you find an Icarus?
it's actually fresh off the can line. One of next week's releases, Life in Hell's, or Hell's Lager. You know, it's a lager. I should probably go with at least start with nice lager.
What's the ABV
As,
on that?
as we've been reminded so many times, this is the lager room.
Absolutely.
As I see nothing but hazies, but I mean,
Well, we've drank an occasional lager from time to time here. What's the ABV on the Life in Hells?
offhand, I'm not too sure. With the ABV on the, it's just over 5%.
Just over 5. So we'll call it 5. There we go. Just want to put it up on the screen for everybody. There we go. Icarus Brewing, Life in Hells. I could have put Hellas Lager, but you get the idea. That is what Mr. Goldstein is drinking right now. Just to get back to it, Mr. Beer Samurai is drinking an Abstract Wizardry 8.5% oatmeal double IPA.
Yeah, because that's when you're in New England, these are what you drink.
You drink double IPAs with oatmeal.
Yeah, you drink it's haze all day.
Haze all day. Haze for days. And I'm drinking a Nemesis 4.9% session IPA. Now that everybody's aware of that and you're all better for it. Anyway, so what's new with Icarus?
Every day is a little bit different around here. We've got our anniversary coming up, so we've been planning pretty heavily for that,
I was going to say the anniversary comes up this month, right? Later on.
Yeah. So that's in next weekish. That'll be all next week's releases. Normally, obviously, we'd be throwing a huge event for that, releases, bands, all that good stuff. Obviously, we're not going to do the event end of it, but we still have plenty of barrel age coming out, plenty of cans coming out, and we're looking to, maybe probably a live stream for some bands to just at least throw our own, 2021 version of a party.
There you go.
We can do a drive-by, honking the horns as we go by, but drinking and driving is frowned upon, and we don't condone that.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Although there have been a little, not driving rules, but there have been a little ease to some of the rules where, like in Belmar last summer, some of the walking and drinking rules were not enforced, or they were unenforced because some of the bars were having to-go cups available. So, no, there weren't any tickets, as far as I know, given out for those. But, the driving poses another issue with that.
Yeah, no, I really wish short towns would open up a little bit more of having, to-go cups. Really just gives you that, that Mardi Gras feel.
Sure. Absolutely. Brian Alt, our producer extraordinaire, says, dudes, and then he says, finally, someone drinking a lager. Cheers, Jason.
Right, I could be there for you, Brian.
We have drank lager before, Brian.
We have, Brian.
Once or twice.
You know that. So.
Maybe twice, yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, during Oktoberfest, we had plenty. But
yeah, we did.
Since that and before that, not so much. But
and also the day before National Lager Day.
Yes, we did drink lagers. I think we drank nothing but lagers that day, if I recall, if memory serves. So
my memory doesn't serve.
Not so much, no. So, well, Jason, why don't you tell us a little bit about your backstory? How did you get into brewing in the first place, and then
they're called origin stories.
The origin story.
So I guess this is sort of like my supervillain story in that case.
Sure.
He took the villain mantle right off the bat.
That's nice. Perfect. That worked perfect.
So I've been doing this since college. Studied food science in college. Took a job at a brewery.
What college, Jason?
At Ohio State.
Got
a big game coming up. No big deal.
You had a big game. You had a big game last Friday too, right?
We hope Bob is watching.
It wasn't against a good team. It was against a bunch of scrubs, ACC level.
Yeah, they were horrible.
Nothing to be proud of.
Awful fan base.
Yeah.
Horrible. Yeah.
Mainly one that happens to own a brewery right by the Meadowlands.
Unbelievable.
We won't bring up Bob.
We won't bring up Bob. Don't bring up Bob Olsen's
whatsoever.
name at all. No,
Yeah.
Or Bolero Snort being his brewery. We won't mention that.
Don't mention that at all.
No need to shame him like that.
No. There's no
keep
Bob
it private.
on the show.
Keep it private. It's fine. Yeah. So, anyway, so you went to Ohio State.
Went to Ohio State, studied food science, worked at a brewery out there, and just sort of fell in love with it. After college, I moved to England, brewed out there, studied out there, got some more certifications out there, moved back to the U.S., worked at other breweries all around, worked at a brewery in Tom's River, moved back to New York, worked at a distillery in Brooklyn, and then eventually left the distillery to start this.
There you go. Very nice.
Very nice.
And your what was the first beer you homebrewed?
So it was like Moose Slobber, I think was the name of it, or Caribou Slobber. Or I've definitely seen it in like a homebrew kit since then.
Moose Slobber.
To buy, that Caribou Slobber, and
what was
maybe
it
that came out then.
Well, Idaho has a beer called Moose Drool. Is that Big Sky?
I'm sure it was just a homebrew kit knockoff of something that happened to be a big name 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. 10. That was by 15, 20. Yeah.
That's great.
Well, time flies.
Time does fly. That's for sure. Yeah. So that's awesome. How? You've been in business what now? This is your 4th anniversary?
Yeah. This will be our 4th anniversary. We opened Friday 13th, January 2017, which is why Friday 13th sort of become like a thing for us.
Sure.
Every time there's another Friday 13th, we try to do a bottle release, some sort of like special event for it, just because there's obviously good luck for us.
Absolutely.
Hey, 13 has always been one of my lucky numbers, actually.
Mm-hmm. 13's obviously definitely Odell Beckham's lucky number, right? Because
it worked out.
Wrong podcast, John.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wrong podcast. Right. So, well, I mean, Jason is a Jets fan, so he might have something to say.
Don't worry.
Ooh. Well, you have to balance it. You need a winning team and a losing team. So
I had never seen a winning team until college. I'm a Mets, Jets, Knicks, Islanders fan. So
Mets, Giants, Rangers. So
Mets, Giants, Rangers, Knicks for me. So, but yeah, I did. The Islanders were actually good from 80 to 83. I
was born in 89, so it doesn't help him.
It doesn't help you. Us Rangers fans weren't too happy from 80 to 83. It wasn't fun.
Pot fan sucks.
So anyway, but so I just let me ask you a question. How different is the industry now? I mean, other than the obvious, as compared to like a year and a half ago for you, other than the obvious.
Other than the obvious, go back a year and a half. I mean, this market has just grown, exploded in great ways. The amount of new people that have come into this market is phenomenal.
Sure.
That see things like the current, fruited sours, hazies, all that, and realize, wait, I can like craft beer too. It's the amount of people. You go back, 5 years, and every brewery had their race to make the most bitter West Coast IPA.
Sure.
And you try a craft beer for the first time after nothing but years of drinking Miller Lite, and all of a sudden like, oh, this is terrible. I can't drink this. It tastes like you're drinking a pine cone. Right. Nowadays, when you have a fruited sour, or you have some big juice bomb or pastry stout, and it just gets people into, wait, these are all flavors I love.
Right.
So it's a lot more.
There's definitely a lot more gateways now than there have been years ago. That's for sure.
And also, as more generations come of drinking age, they start growing up with the flavors rather than thinking beer has to taste like beer, which to them is Budweiser, Miller, Coors. So a lot of beer drinkers now are cutting their teeth on IPAs and stouts.
Specifically, New England IPAs or pastry stouts, but
specifically, yes. because that's all the rage right now.
Sure.
As we sit
one
here
nice thing
drinking.
is we've gotten far less questions of, in the taste room, what wines do you serve? What do you mean you don't have? I think people at least now understand what a brewery and what a tasting room is,
Sure.
which is very nice to not have to explain every single time, even though legally we do and we have to, but that's a whole nother story.
Right.
But there is one thing I want you to explain, because it's a style and I love it. I first had it at Icarus. I was meeting John there, as a matter of fact.
Imagine it.
Counting crayons.
Drinking crayons?
Drinking crayons.
Drinking crayons. Raw IPA, right?
So that's scribbling crayons.
Scribbling crayons. That's it. Between John and I, we both failed at remembering the name of that
Those
beer.
crayons, we got that part right.
We got the crayons part. But that beer, explain a raw IPA to us.
So that simply means that it's not boiled. Instead, we pasteurize at about 170. That means without getting to a boil, you don't ever have that protein dropping out. You don't have certain flavors being created nor destroyed. So you end up with a completely unique, different beer. I find the beer ends up being a lot softer. However, you don't end up with the same level of caramelization of sugars. So we've released Drinking Crayons and Scribbling Crayons. Drinking Crayons was the original beer. Scribbling Crayons is a no-boil, raw version of it. And you can taste the similarities. However, they seem more like unique beers than anything else we're making, just because of that difference from, say, 170 hold to 212.
Right. Now, the hopping table, obviously, if you're not boiling, the hopping table changes. You're still getting the same hop flavors out of it because you're obviously not releasing the same amount of acids, right?
So Northeast IPAs, you tend to be dry hopping a lot in the whirlpool at the end, so you're already dropping the temperature at that point. You're not throwing much in the boil as is, so you're already not throwing much in at 212. So that part doesn't actually change that much, except in this, we never rise that temperature.
So it's really the backbone of the beer that changes, not the hop profile.
Correct. I mean, you will end up with slight differences because of you have a pH change, because you don't have the boil, you have different proteins. The actual base of the beer then changes because of the lack of a boil, which will definitely affect the hops, as pH affects hops, all your different mineral content affects hops. The fact that you're not coagulating all those proteins will affect the hops. However, the physical amount of hops we're adding in doesn't change.
Yeah, I was always really curious as to, why do an unboiled beer and the benefits. But thanks for the answer. You can
definitely get. It's definitely. I mean, obviously, both of us have had it. Dave and I. I mean, obviously, you've had it, but it is noticeably softer. I mean, you can achieve that softness with like a huge, humongous amount of oats and so forth and so on. But it's super soft. That's for sure.
Thanks.
Oh, I seriously enjoyed it. That's why I wanted to ask the question.
Absolutely. You also you've brewed a oated West Coast IPA too, which I thought was very good.
We might have brewed one of those together.
It was a tasty one. Yes,
yeah.
We did. The grain,
it's all in the grinding, isn't it?
That grain got milled so damn good that day. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much the can milled at that point. The sheer amount of love that went into making that mill go just obviously made it.
Absolutely.
My kudos to the chef in that case.
Everybody, if you have not caught on, that would have been John himself.
That was me. So.
Or to put in John parlance, none other than John.
There you go. So, well, it had nothing to do with me and dumping the pegs of grain into the mill.
You guys ready for a trivia question?
Go ahead, sure, go for it.
We're going to interrupt with a trivia question, and we're going to get back to Jason after that.
Yeah.
Which state? This one's an easy one. I'm throwing up at softball. Which state has the most breweries?
Like California.
California.
Who is number 2?
What state is number 2?
Which Colorado or Oregon?
No, it's not. It's crap. I know this.
They actually just jumped Colorado, I believe, this past year.
Old news.
Right. It's not New York, is it?
With over 460 breweries, that would be New York State.
New York State.
Wow.
Yeah.
Welcome back, New York.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Cheers to New York.
Cheers to New York. There you
California's just got way too much land.
go. Oh yeah, there's
places to grow hops to ever surpass them. And San Diego alone, I think, has more breweries than a lot of states, right?
Yeah, Escondido County has more breweries than all of New Jersey.
Yeah. So it's New Jersey up to 123 now or something like that?
I lost count.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, I know that.
We were 80-something, and then it was 100, then it was 120.
Yeah. Brian Alt is currently on NewJerseyCraftBeer.com. And
Brian's checking it out for us. Brian, I think it's 123. Could you confirm or deny that, please, for us? But he's our producer. He doesn't get paid, but he's our producer, so he just takes care of these things for us.
Also known as the "you guys have no idea what the hell you're talking about" guy.
Oh yeah, that too. So, but well, I actually just want to go out and say one other thing too before we move on to any other news or anything like that. I want to give kudos to this man right here, Mr. Jason Goldstein, for his dedication to his community and his involvement in the fire service. So, kudos to you, sir.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
There you go.
It's just, I guess it's a nice transition. You've got hoses, you've got water, you've got rubber boots.
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty much like the same thing.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
There's heat, there's steam.
I alcohol at the end of those and the start of this.
Right,
so.
exactly.
Right.
So it all kind of rolls together, so it all works. So yeah, I've been in the fire service for quite a long time, and kudos to you and everybody, and yeah, that goes to everybody in the fire service. My father is in his 55th year.
And your dad.
Yeah, my father, this July, he'll be entering his 56th year of active service in the fire department. Granted, his activity's a little lower now than they were years ago, but still an active member. So.
But not his voice.
No, not his voice by any means.
Not his voice. To Jack.
So, anyway, all right, let's move on to some news. Not that it's really news.
Wait a second. We're not done with Jason, are we?
We're not done with Jason. Well, it involves Jason.
Does it?
This is all on Jason. I'm just putting up. It's less Icarus and more Jason's opinion on things. See that. Well, do you have another question for us before we get to news?
Well, you went to college for food studies, correct? Food science. And then you started working at a brewery and decided to do that. What was the trigger for you to go all in?
So, as part of my degree, I take an internship every single semester. Worked plenty of positions that were definitely interesting. However, my first day at a brewery was on a bottling line. It was on a Maheen. Anyone that's ever worked on a bottling line knows it's the worst thing imaginable.
Did you put a glove on the bottle and wave goodbye to it?
Pretty much, yeah. Just broken glass everywhere. Everything can go wrong. Went wrong. Glass in every single part of my hand. Just no fun. However, at the end of the day, I still realized like this is like the best day of work I've ever had. And like I kept showing up, kept working that job until finally they let me, clean a mash tun, help out, assist, however. And it was just the first time I'd worked a job where I was like, this is amazing. I just want to know more. I want to do more. Whereas every other job was like, I could see myself doing this. I could see doing 30 years, one day retiring and being like, that sucked. Whereas at a brewery, every single day I was there was like, all right, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I just enjoyed every single day, no matter how much that day sucked. And that was just something so unique and new to me. And I knew I just couldn't leave that.
Was there any one place, brewery, whether it's the breweries that you worked at or distillery or anything like that, that you hold a little more near and dear than others, or they all pretty much gave you?
When I was living in England, I worked at 10 different breweries while I was out there because they just kept placing us at other breweries. Spend 5 days here, 5 days there, learn a whole new system, fully immerse yourself, and then learn a whole new system. That way, between all of them, you'll see something that'll go wrong, and you'll learn from it. Some breweries I worked with out there, had 60, 70-year-old, actually at that point, it was probably 70, 80-year-old brew houses predating World War II, pieces missing because parts of that stainless was acquisition for the war effort, things like that. And that was just historically really cool and probably terrible machinery to work with because, we have technological advances. And then some of the machinery I worked out there was the pilot system for the Newcastle, and it was the most beautiful brew house I ever worked on. Advanced to the point where I dream of parts that were on that machinery there. I wish I could have it here. So I don't think one specific brewery stands out, but I just love the uniqueness of every brewery.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's definitely a plus. You can.
That is a neat take.
It is. You can definitely pull a lot of stuff out of everywhere you go, even if it's just one thing from here and there. There's a lot of uniqueness in it. I don't think I've been in two breweries that were that were identical. So I mean, there's definitely pluses and minuses everywhere. So
I have one more question for Jason. Why Lakewood? How did you land there?
So I went with Lakewood because, if you look at a map of New Jersey, we are so centrally located.
There's no such thing as Central Jersey.
No, but we're centrally located to east and west, to north and south, so close to 195 to the Parkway. We can access the entire state. As soon as we started doing home deliveries, it was relatively easy for us to start distributing to probably 75% of the state because everything is about an hour away max. So we're just an hour from New York City, an hour from Philly, still on the shore, an hour from Atlantic City. We can access everywhere from here.
That makes a lot of sense.
That is brilliant.
Absolutely. I feel the same way about it. Just as far as proximity to different areas too, and on a sports take too, we're almost identical distance between here and Citi Field, New York City, as we are to Philadelphia, and the ballparks down there. But yet, for some reason, it takes about an hour less to get to Philly than it does to get to Citi Field. So.
Yeah, but if it was at 2 a.m., it'd probably be equidistant.
Yeah, well, it depends. If you involve the Cross Bronx at all, even at 2 a.m., it doesn't even matter. So.
Yeah.
But I want to go on the record that I do believe in Central Jersey because I went to high school in Jackson. They were down there, not too far from there. And the way I've always defined it, for mine and John's age, when we were kids, if you can get both New York and Philadelphia stations, you were in Central Jersey.
You were in Central Jersey, yeah. So now it doesn't
I'm
matter.
Not from here, so I can't take a standpoint on if Central Jersey does or does not exist.
We're not pressuring you to do so.
Well, you're from New
I
York,
appreciate
right?
that.
So, but John Stewart did rule that Central Jersey exists.
Oh, and who's better to believe than Jon Stewart? I mean, come on.
So
silence. Nothing that went over like lead balloon, as they say. All right. Well, yeah, you're from New York originally, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, out to the industry news, if you will. And again, all we're going to do with that tonight is I've been reading a lot of stuff in a lot of different places. It hasn't just been one, article or blog or anything, news report that I've read. A lot of people are thinking there's been a lot of, pardon my French, or my slipping of my phone. There's been a lot of differences, things that have come up, during COVID and during quarantines and pandemics and everything else that have changed the brewery industry. And people are speculating as to whether or not some of them will stick around or some of them will go back to normal. I was just wondering what your take was on it. I mean, some are thinking that obviously one of the biggest bonuses, and I'm sure you can concur on this or confirm or deny it, has been the home delivery aspect for the breweries. Obviously, no, they were never able to do that before. Now you can. Will that stick around, or is that going bye-bye once everything's done?
That's tough. Like, I hope it does. I sincerely do. Having access to fresh beer at your doorstep is a beautiful thing, and I'm not sure why it didn't exist previously.
Right.
And I certainly hope the state understands, that was a quick change for them, and it was a beautiful change that worked out for breweries all over the state. It's something that liquor stores were already allowed to do, restaurants were allowed to do, and this is, in a way, reduce the distance from us to every customer around the state. So I hope they keep it, but at the same time, I am not in the business of understanding how politics works.
Who is? Some politicians aren't.
People who make far more.
This is true. But yeah, I hope it sticks around. I mean, it's definitely a boost for the brewing industry. That's for sure. Some other things that they've talked about though, like more outdoor space, than they've had before. You think that would stick around, or for that matter, table service over bar service, with the scannable menus, QR codes or whatever at the table. So anything like that, what's your take on that?
I think outdoor space is just going to be the standard from now on. In general, we're gonna be in that mindset. This could be 5 years post-vaccine and post, everything returning some sense of normalcy. I think in the back of people's heads, we've drilled in for how long that indoors is unsafe, outdoors is safe, outdoors is safe. People are just going to naturally want that seat outdoors.
Right.
And then New Jersey is the climate in the state's great, especially we're on the shore. 4 or 5 months a year, it's beautiful outside. Extended maybe to 6 months with some heaters. Who doesn't want that?
Sure.
You live in Belmar. Like, isn't it so nice to be at bars around there, overlooking the water outside rather than in a stuffy space, regardless of COVID?
I wanted to be outside before any of this. So
exactly. So I'm hoping that becomes the standard.
You see, I'm different. I love sitting at a bar.
Oh, there's places and times and places to be sitting at a bar.
Yes.
Don't make any mistake about that. I just, in general, like as far as sitting, having a meal, or sitting, especially depending on where you are. If I'm sitting at a bar that has a view of the beach and the ocean, or whatever else,
or the bar's in the ocean,
or the bar's in the ocean, right?
If I'm on the boardwalk in Asbury, like, I would like to be outdoors.
Sure.
Yes.
However, there's plenty of nights that, yes, I'd much rather be standing at the bar, chatting with the bartender. Every time, from living in New York City most of my life, going out to bars in Williamsburg, there's nothing better than on a Tuesday, Wednesday night, hanging out at the bar, chatting with the bartender all night. That's how your night went.
Absolutely.
But different situations. And I'm really hoping that breweries, bars in general, do understand that outdoors will be a continued good idea.
I do not disagree with that at all.
I don't.
But I'll tell you, relate one story at the beginning. I think it was probably late March. Where I live is an old mill, which is common in New England. In Jersey, because of all the red tape and the politics involved, we tear everything down and rebuild. But here they recycle a lot of the old mills, and the portion off to that side. So what I live in is loft apartments, and over there they've got there's stores, there's offices. There's also a place called the Met, which is a music venue, and they had a bar. And with COVID, they realized, since they're a music venue, they'd never be able to open, and they had all this beer that was going to go bad. So we got flyers at all of our doors to stop by with any container you had, because they wanted to empty their kegs, no charge. And when you walked in, they handed you a cup. They gave you a pour while they were filling up your growler or whatever you brought to them. Mm-hmm. And since this was a few months into it, and if you remember at the beginning, things were just so locked down, things were so depressing that. And John, you remember when I posted that up
Sure.
into the group. There was no better feeling than standing at a bar, drinking a beer. I was almost in tears. I was so happy for it, right?
Yeah, really.
After
that
all
that was only like a month and a half or two into it. So.
And it was only a month and a half into it. Things have relaxed a little bit, so I've been at bars a few more, with the plexiglass on either side of me and all that involved. But just that feeling of, being back at a bar was wonderful. Now, I've spent a lot of time outdoors eating, drinking, and I love it. To your point, Jason, I hope that never goes away. I hope every place has found a way to gain some more outdoor space, because we know that a lot of places that we've seen that have gained some outdoor space, they're going to lose it when things, get back to normal. Cloverleaf Tavern was able to take over a good chunk of the parking lot, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, and they had a smaller outdoor space in the back as it was, but they were able to get some of the parking lot.
Yeah, they'll lose that parking lot space.
They'll
right?
lose that. Of course they will. What outdoor space do you have, Jason?
None.
None, right?
It's a business complex.
Well,
right?
I said that James Harris just wrote in, wish Icarus was able to have outdoors.
Yeah, like that makes many of us.
Yeah.
Hey,
I do as well. So
build stairs up to the roof.
My wishes.
There you go. And he also commented, if he's eating, he'd rather be inside, just drinking, and it's nice out. Outside is awesome. So
for me, that goes either way. Like there's been many times, like I went to Brick Farm Tavern a few months back, sat under their tent, had lunch with my family. Like that felt really nice too. Like again, this is the Jersey Shore. When it's 75 to 80 degrees out with a nice breeze, I will gladly have my meal outside because that fresh air is gonna taste so much better than any air conditioning or heat ever will.
Yeah, absolutely. Jess and I go to a place on Ocean Avenue, right across the street from the boardwalk and the beach, La Terraza, and there's more seating outside than there is inside. The sister restaurant next door has more indoor seating, but it's you go there, you have to sit outside. That's where you're going. That's why you're going there,
But what about the Anchor Bar's beach bar? I mean, that's cool. Grab a beer, go down, put your feet in the sand.
Sure, absolutely. And then there's Marina Grill too over on the marina. Yeah. It's just there's more outdoor space than there is indoor space, and it's beautiful to sit there and look at the Shark River and the marina over there as well. But James Harris just said Brick Farm Tavern outdoors is unbelievable. He said.
Yeah,
so.
I hope they keep that as like indoors at Brick Farm is beautiful. I mean, they have artwork on the wall that I can never dream of even owning a portion of. It's absolutely stunning inside there. But their outdoor setup, I mean, they're on what was probably, I assume, to be a farm.
Sure.
This huge outdoor pavilion that's just nice.
Yeah, it really is. Not to change, the subject intentionally, but we have a comment on here from a certain Mr. Dave Campanelle, and he wants to know what's the collab with Bolero.
You knew this was coming.
We all knew this was coming.
So a few days ago, as previously alluded to, we had the little wager between Bob from Bolero and I about the Ohio State Clemson game. With him being a Clemson alumni, me being an Ohio State alumni, we threw in the line, winner gets to pick one of the losing breweries, beers from their repertoire, brew it on their system, with the loser picking the adjunct. And as a very gracious victor, I think we're going to look at doing it, both ways. We'll each brew one of the other's beers, and then as that optional poison pill of we can then pick the adjunct to completely ruin the other person's day. Very tempted to throw 100% oats into the Bolero version just to make it the worst sparge they can ever dream of. On that last beer that we brewed together, I had Bob's input on the recipe for Bolnanistan, and that was the worst stuck sparge I've ever experienced on this brew house. Ever.
What was the name of that last collab?
The most recent one?
Yeah.
The Bolnanistan?
That would be the first one. You're referring to the first one.
Oh, the first one? I just blew myself.
There it is.
We tend to go.
They just wanted to get you to say.
I just want you.
Since we're both huge fans of Arrested Development, our collabs tend to involve it.
Sure. Absolutely. I got one other question before we move on to our second beers.
I already opened my second beer.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm
more
getting
so,
ready, John.
You can open it. I'll just ask the question and I'll start opening my beer. How's that?
There we go.
Where do you see? When do you see Beer Fest coming back?
I just got the email that
I got it too, so that's why I'm asking.
is planning on moving their Beer Fest this coming year. They're going to move to, I guess, where the old airport was.
Yeah.
So I'm in this summer in a post-vaccine world, and outdoor Beer Fest can feel again. So I'm hoping for the summer for at least small-scale outdoor Beer Fest. However, that's way out of my scope.
Sure. Well, it's at this point, it's probably out of pretty much everybody's scope still, except for the email that everybody just got. So.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that based off that's what they do for a living is plan things like that. They've read into this and see where the papers are going, and they strongly feel confident about that.
Right.
But it's something we'll keep monitoring.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, and obviously he said in the email too that was it's definitely a liquid situation.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting to see. Dave, we talked about this before. With the AC Beer Fest, I'm moving it to outdoors on June 5th. So it's going to be an outdoor beer fest. But I personally, and I've been saying this for a while, I don't see, even with the vaccine just yet. I didn't see Beer Fest coming back till 2022. Just because of what the nature of them. I mean, pouring the beers, and unless everything is disposable cups, and you got to have a lot of people and the distancing and everything else, because they're still saying with the vaccine, you still need to wear the mask, you still need to distance.
And the more people drink, the more they forget the rules,
right.
Throw the rules out the window. That's why you had so many curfews where bars had to shut down by a time. It had nothing to do with people making that snarky comment. Oh, I guess you can't get COVID after 10.
Right.
No, it had nothing to do with that. It's just that the longer you're out, the more you drink, the dumber you get.
Sure. And that goes for everybody. I mean, nobody's going to remain 100% a genius when they're, 6 or 7, the equivalent of 6 or 7 beers in, or more, But hey, you know what? For John Henderson and the crew and the industry, for that matter, and of course the drinkers as well. I hope it can go off, and I can get off without a hitch and be safe. But we'll see. Pete Minetti from the sports podcast, Radio Pete, said beer, and he said Samurai love the moody lighting.
Yeah, well, we had a little bit of a.
So
I said some technical issues. So we're having a little issues with getting the lighting right, and it's actually, if you can watch, it's really aggravating the hell out of me.
It looks like there's
that's even better mood lighting. There you go.
Like that, because you can't see me if I do this and light myself, then I can't see anything.
There you go. And Jason, Pete is definitely a big Jets fan. He said, "Nice to see a Jets fan guest drinking." So,
the Jets drive them to drink.
There you go. Jason,
understand though, Pete. Like, if this was a week ago, you wouldn't see me in anything Jets related. I held off all season until Gates was fired.
Right.
I can now proudly wear this again.
Jason, I just want you to take a look at Pete's profile picture right there.
Yep.
Do you know who that is?
Do you know who that is?
From that, no.
It's me.
That would be John. That would be John losing a bet.
It's me losing a bet wearing a Revis jersey. So
nice.
So there you go. Just to say that. But anyway, and then just to tie up the Atlantic City Beer Fest talk, Brian already said he's already switched his hotel room. So
of course he has.
So he's on the ball. He's on par. He's ready to go. So. All right. Which
means we have a bathroom to pass out.
We have a bathroom to pass out in, exactly. What's everybody drinking for their third beers? Let's hear it.
Well, third beers. I'm only on my
second beer.
The thing is,
John's my third beer of the day. It's my second beer on the podcast.
John's got the segue on his mind because he knows that what him and I are drinking segue into the top threes.
There you go. All right. So what's your second beer there, Mr. Samurai?
So as you know, I just got back from Florida. Got to spend Christmas with my kids. which was awesome. But also got to visit with my brother, and we had him on the show last week.
He popped in. Yes, he did.
And when I mentioned that we've been pre-gaming it, one of the places we pre-gamed at was Copper Point. And so I picked up Cocoa for Coxness.
Cocoa for Coxness.
I believe Cox is the last name of the owner of Copper Point, so they like to play off of that. It's an unfortunate last name. At any rate, this beer has got toasted coconut, cacao nibs, and Madagascar bourbon vanilla. I don't know what that means.
Bourbon barrel aged Madagascar.
Maybe they took
beans.
Madagascar beans, soaked it in bourbon, and then threw it in the beer. That's all I can think of. So we've got a few adjuncts in this beer.
Odd you should say that, because so does mine. By the way, just as an aside too, you said Cox was his last name. I mean, the chief in Beverly Hills Cop was his last name is Cox.
Is that some trivia?
Yeah, and he was also in another movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what that was?
Was it Kindergarten Cop?
No. I'll give you a hint. Tres Leches.
No.
Now you didn't get the reference?
Nah.
No?
I know it's Three Milks, but
and
a Mexican cake.
Whatchamacallit? It was a movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger went to Mars.
That's a great movie. Total Recall.
Total Recall. Did you get the Tres Leches reference then? There.
I do now. Yes, I do.
All right.
Let's leave it right there.
Let's leave it right there. All right.
So then what are you drinking?
I'm drinking all the way from Rhode Island. How did I get that beer? Lops Brewing Marshmallow Imperial
Stout. Took 3 weeks to get there.
There you go, right there. Look at that. And this thing has some adjuncts in it too.
This was supposed to be on the show with Sean Lopolito.
From Lops, yes.
I had said it, about 10 days prior?
Yep. And just got it about 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Fun. What are you consuming there, Mr. Goldstein?
So all the way from Philadelphia. I've got from Human and Robot. They're Hallertau pills.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Again, sticking with the lagers here. And this
He's shaming us. He's shaming
us. We're drinking nothing but ales, and he's drinking lagers on the lager room there. I guess.
A 5.2% German style pilsner.
Very nice.
Yeah.
How's the
not adjunct?
Can you get a lot of the Hallertau out of that?
I mean, it tastes like a nice, noble pilsner.
Okay, cool. There you go. Very tasty. Well, we're all these adjuncts that we're drinking, well, with the exception of Jason, leads me to have a couple of questions. Here's some more trivia. I'll just throw this out there. Obviously, we know what the Reinheitsgebot is, right? Anybody want to just mention it to let anybody that happens to not know what it is that's listening? No.
The German purity law?
That would be the German purity law.
That stated beer could only be made with malted barley because they needed the wheat for the war effort, water, and hops, which was very interesting because gruit was actually the bittering agent of the day. So I'll have to mention that on another show.
And yeast was never considered a part of it. So
yeast was never a part of it, and then they modified it after the fact. And,
they thought yeast was magic.
Yeah.
Because no
yeast
microscopes.
Was just that stuff that's in the air that when they put it in open fermenters, it did its magic. But what year did it start? What year was did the German purity law, Reinheitsgebot, go into effect?
The thing is, I know this because the whole thing about what I want to bring up about Gruit and Reinheitsgebot and the Catholic Church and the Protestant Reformation all are right about there. And I think it's somewhere around 1620. But I'm bad with numbers.
You're about 104 years late.
104.
Yeah. 1516.
1516.
What year did it? Good. It was a good year. It was a good year. I hear. Yeah. There was a lot of good. Absolutely. From what I hear. What year did it cease to be in effect in Germany?
Probably about 6 months later. when they
Actually,
realized every other province did something completely off of that.
off of that, right? Actually, it lasted
It's either
for.
that or 5 years ago.
No, actually it was 34 years ago, 1987.
34.
1987, it was in effect in Germany until.
And what's interesting, what has happened in Germany is because of the Reinheitsgebot, a lot of the German beer drinkers really kind of shifted towards the American craft beers because American America, we don't care about anybody else's rules.
America.
So they wanted to go and all these super flavorful, high ABV beers with all the adjuncts in it. They wanted something different. And so American craft beer became a big thing over there.
Sure, it definitely did, yeah.
And when I lived in England, American craft beer was a huge thing too. Plenty of craft beer bars pretty much were importing all their stuff from the U.S. When I was in Belgium, exact same way. I think how radical the American beer scene has been on pushing everything to extremes has been slow to catch on elsewhere. And by the time we move on to another thing, I feel like other countries are just starting to adapt, what we've already moved on from in the beer world. So I think we've stayed at the forefront of craft beer for at least the last decade.
Is it the capricious nature of the craft beer drinker, or the American craft beer drinker, or that whole "what have you done for me lately," or saying, "Hey, I was there when this started," the whole hipster kind of thing? What do you think keeps us going and keeps us moving, or just that desire to be the first to do something?
I think it's just how large the country is, and with regionalization of craft beer. You go down to Florida right now, go down to Tampa. You go somewhere like Angry Chair.
Angry Chair. That's where we met, by the way. You know that?
I vaguely remember this, yes.
We both had quite a few beers in us, so yeah, we both vaguely remember it.
Yeah, the sheer amount of lactose my body probably had in it at that point was, bordering on death.
Oh, that hangover the next day, the headache.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And the hangover at 1 p.m., yeah.
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 But you said, so down in Florida, I'm sorry, I stepped over you.
Yeah. So you get that. You have, say, like West Coast extreme, bitter IPAs. You get Northeast as juicy as physically possible. All these regional styles. Then you go somewhere like England, like all of a sudden their entire tap list could be nothing but American styles because we're going to the extremes depending what region you go. So I feel like that's really what puts us, at that next step for craft beer. Just the fact that regionally we do different things to new extremes.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
and then one region will see what the other region is doing and try to play off of it
or outdo it or something like that. To your question there, Dave, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's a little bit of the what have you done for me lately, or I was there first, or I think everything plays into that fact.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I threw all those out there.
Yeah. So, well, speaking of Reinheitsgebot and the extremeness of a lot of regions craft brewing, and for that matter, the lactose that Jason just mentioned down in Florida before. Why don't we get to our top threes?
We've been using a word quite a lot in this show.
That word is what?
That would be adjuncts.
Adjuncts. A-D-junced. There you go. Top three adjuncts that we all like, that we are favorites used in craft brewing. So, why don't we start with our guest?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So, the adjunct I probably use the most here is coconut. I just have a sheer love for coconut.
Sure.
In my stouts like King Arthur Steed, IPAs like Invincible Summer, or Pale Ales like Invincible Summer. I just think coconut pairs so well with the sweetness of some styles like milk stouts or Northeast IPAs.
You use Sabro hops a lot in any of those that you?
I do. Sabro's a nice pair, but I also do use toasted coconut.
Sure.
And I do like spice in beers. So I've done chili peppers, ancho chili peppers, and mole-inspired stout. I've done Thai chili peppers and bang kitty, which also has toasted coconut. I just love that hint of spice. Like, I'm not looking for a full-blown palate killer, but just enough that it pairs
As opposed
well.
to some people we know.
Like Stone's Crime and Punishment.
Yeah, that was possibly the most stomach lining, destructive beer I've ever had in my life. I had a buddy who worked at Stone at that point. I saw it in the store. I look at it and I go, "Hey, how is this?" Because I'd always ask him at the Enjoy Buy, which his favorite was, which I should make sure I search out. And I saw a Punishment, and he's like, "Don't buy it." I'm like, "What?" And he's like, you can just buy hot sauce, leave it cold, and
Just
and I'm like,
drink some Cholula, you're good to go.
And I bought it despite his, recommendation, and he wasn't wrong. I think we split it 10 ways, and each of us was like, I don't know what we're gonna do with the rest of the bottle.
Well, there's Nagas in that thing. Naga chilies. This is in the top 5 hottest peppers on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
John knows, of course, that I love those beers.
Of course you do. That's hence why I said that before.
Yes.
So what's your and
your third?
What's your third? Yeah.
So I've also used lemongrass a lot. That's just nice to me. Again, finishing out one beer, Bang Kitty, that has toasted coconut, lemongrass, Thai chili peppers. It's
you got them all in there.
Yeah,
You got 'em.
All one.
Honestly, that's probably the beer I search out the most. When I'm not search out, the beer I take the most home of when I brew it.
Okay.
They all work so well in tandem. I love Thai food in general, but now you have the spicy to go with the citrus, to go with the sweetness, the coconut, all working in tandem. In that case, in a IPA, and the lemongrass is just the flavor you're sort of getting off Citra, just amplified.
Sure.
So I think it just pairs well with an IPA.
I'll have to get a 4-pack of that when next time I go get some Thai and pair it with it.
And I mean, if you don't want the Thai chilies, Neon Fantasy is the base of Bang Kitty, but instead it's just lemongrass and toasted coconut.
Nice. Just jot it down there. So either find it, or if I can't find it, which will most likely be the case, because when you deliver it, it flies off the shelves. So I'll just have to come down and see you and have a socially distanced beer with you, and
I mean, that works too.
That'll
Up
work
on the rooftop bar, right?
And I've already been instructed that I have to come down there anyway, because somebody that's downstairs right now needs one of the new hoodies. So I have to buy one of them for her. So in any event, all right, Mr. Samurai, what are your 3?
Well, Jason stole one of mine. I agree.
Shocked.
Coconut just works so well in so many different styles of beer. I've had coconut IPAs that I've loved. Death by Coconut is such a great beer from Oscar Blues. Oscar Blues.
Oscar Brews? Is that a new one?
Oscar Brews. Maybe they should change their name. Hawaiian Speedway might be my favorite of the Speedways. But it's also got coffee in it. And then, even one of my favorite irregular coffees, St. Kitts, it's the coconut,
Yep.
So definitely love the coconut. But then, John and I were talking earlier, and he kind of broke it down to categories, how kind of followed suit. So this is stealing, John's structure for this question. Fruit was one of them. Was one of the categories, and because of my love of creeks, I got Morello cherries. The sourness working with the sourness of the beer and just bringing it all together. So cherries in general, but specifically the Morellos, have to love those because of that. And then my third one, sticking in Belgium, and it's a style of beer that when I first tried, this was at a Belgian beer bar in Philadelphia that is now defunct. Eulogy, which was a shame.
Love that.
I mean,
delicious.
Absolutely love that bar.
Oh
Yeah.
man, when they put that beer list down in front of you and the table nearly gave way,
Absolutely.
and then you just start flipping through those pages like a phone book, and you're just looking for something different. And I found something extremely different in a beer called Melchior by Alvina, mustard seed.
Wow.
The flavor that mustard seed imparts to a Belgian pale is surprisingly wonderful. I absolutely loved it. If you've not had a mustard seed beer, don't be afraid of it. It sounds weird. It sounds like it might burn you. I don't know what, but give it a try. Mustard seed in beer, especially the way the Belgians do it, you got to give that a shot.
Yeah. That's I've had one before, and I haven't had the pleasure of having more than that one, but it was very unique. I'll say it like that, and pretty damn tasty too. So
yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised that I enjoyed the hell out of it.
So, all right, I guess that leaves me.
That leaves you.
Right. I'm gonna start with my fruits. Raspberries, because of creeks, were definitely in the running, but my favorite fruit in adjunct in beers. It took some digging in my
raspberries framboise.
Framboise. Well, there's some. Well, I mean, there's cherries and creeks and raspberries and framboise. Sorry, you said creek, so I know
I confused you. That's my fault.
Confused me. I'm again 3 beers in. So anyway, whatchamacallit?
Oscar Brews.
Yeah, Oscar Brews. Yeah, exactly. Peaches.
Pesh.
Yeah, absolutely. They, in wits, they're delicious. In done well in certain IPAs, softer IPAs, they're delicious.
Spellbound.
Yeah, they're really, really, really tasty. They're I enjoy the flavor, and keep in mind, folks, when we're talking about these, I don't think any of us, and I'll speak for, and let Jason and Dave correct me if I'm wrong. We're not talking about like in your face with all of these. Just adding the nuances and the flavors to the beer itself is what we're talking about. I'm not talking about drinking a glass of peach juice. I'm talking about,
unless you're at Muckraker.
Well, that's a different story. So,
but then it's also probably delicious.
Well,
oh exactly. God, phenomenal! You kidding me?
But yeah, definitely peaches. Peaches definitely impart really great flavors as far as I'm concerned, in a lot of, in a number of different styles. Like I said, wits, IPAs, softer IPAs, spruce tips, winter beers, big time. I love spruce tips in beer, especially obviously winter beers. Had them in IPAs, but winter warmers, anything like that, spruce tips are amazing in beers. Pennsylvania Tuxedo from Dogfish Head comes to mind.
What's the one from Yards?
Oh crap, that's it's one of the presidents, right?
Yeah, it's one of the presidential beers, and my favorite of the presidential beers.
Is it? It's not Thomas Jefferson, is it?
I think it was Washington's.
No, it might be. It might be Washington.
I think it's Washington's.
But yeah, spruce tips are definitely on the higher level for me. So it's definitely making the top 3. And my number 1, and again, not over the top because you use too much of it. It's super sweet, but in certain styles, especially barrel-aged stouts, barrel-aged wheat wines, especially maple.
Okay.
Maple
is delicious.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be wonderful and I don't know, maybe, I don't know enough about how to work with it, but there's obviously times where people have not worked it properly. I don't know if they put it in at the wrong time, got it to the wrong temperature. But maple can release tannins that can make the beer awful. But when it's done properly,
absolutely,
and like you said, to a subtleness, it is a beautiful addition to a beer.
What I found too is a lot of times they'll use whiskey barrels to age maple syrup, and then you use that barrel to age the beer.
There's a way
we've done that plenty. You get we work with the maple farm. I don't know if it could be a maple farm, but a maple farm that has a location in North Jersey that has their own single origin farm, and their syrup is absolutely phenomenal. We've aged syrup in their barrels before and then thrown beer into those barrels. Absolutely phenomenal once off those maple syrup barrels.
Sure.
It just works so well in big stouts. We did that for maple making whoopee, and that just came out beautifully. We've also used maple recently in an IPA. We did a one-off of milking it. We did a milkshake with maple syrup and toasted coconut.
now you're talking.
Because
it's
you
called
think
milking
the
it?
milkshake's already a little bit sweet.
Sure.
And the maple syrup is going to ferment out. So you don't get the dryness from the maple syrup because you already have a sweeter IPA. So now that malt sweetness ends up tasting almost like a maple syrup sweetness instead. Paired with the coconut, it worked.
I got to ask, how long ago was that?
That was a one-off we did a few weeks ago. But we are looking to do a full batch at some point soon. I don't know if it'll be in the milking line. We were looking to do it as a power shake, as a power juicer.
So that was a. Are there any more 4-packs of that left sitting around?
Call me.
That was actually a tap room only
thing.
Yeah. Like that's where we tend to experiment the most.
Of course.
Which is one of the thousands of annoying things about COVID. Right. Having your tap room reduced down to 14 people. This is where we get to experiment, and experimenting, a new beer with 14 people is not nearly as fun as experimenting it with, 500 people over a weekend.
Sure.
Who really get to see like how much they really love that 1 or 2 kegs we made available.
Right. Well, just remember, just text me as soon as you make another one of those.
We'll do.
I'll probably buy a case of it. So just I'll send you. That's why I'm going to buy a case. I'll send you some.
Okay, thank you. Because that's right my wheelhouse right there.
Of course, absolutely. And it'll probably appear on the show too. So, to wrap up the 33 is the top 3 list. We can't forget milkshakes, right? We can't forget vanilla and lactose.
I mean, they will make the world go round.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In more ways than one.
But but my feeling on lactose, John, is when it is overused, it can be one of the worst ingredients in beer.
And when it's used right, it can be one of the...
It can be amazing.
As someone who's lactose intolerant, and any amount of lactose kills me, and who ran into you, Dave, at Angry
Chair, who probably maybe one of the few places on the planet uses more lactose than Bolero.
Did Dave just say that? Did he just say that?
I asked them at Angry Chair, I've been looking at the full tap list. They have something like maybe 16 beers or so on tap. It was a decent sized tap list. I asked them, so what do you have on what can I get that doesn't have lactose? And the bartender turns around, he looks at the whole tap list,
water,
and he goes, I can tell you which has the least amount of lactose. I go, you have a Saison on. He goes, yeah, that's the one with the least. I'm like,
oh God, it's almost like the spam skit from Monty Python right there.
Oh God, that's great. I love it. A Saison with lactose. That's great.
Yeah,
lactose Saison.
It was all delicious, but my body was definitely
you were shot, to say the least.
I was being run over by a truck repeatedly with every single glass.
Wow, so we have a pastry Saison, huh?
A pastry Saison.
They've done
There's something new. All right, that's got to write that down.
Pastry Saison.
Pastry Saison.
I'm still waiting for the pastry seltzer.
Oh, that's out already. You kidding me?
I'm sure there's barrel aged seltzer. So why not?
There's Buffalo Trace barrel aged seltzers. I mean, come on.
I can see that, I guess.
You gotta love it. Unbelievable. So what do you there's a question for you. What's your take on the seltzer game?
I'm all for it. Again, I as someone who I'd say grew up going to breweries in New York City, I'm used to going to a brewery and you have guest taps on, you might have wine available, you might have mixed drinks, you might have meat available, and it's all just understood. Do I think that seltzer is anything remotely related to beer? No. However, I also don't feel that I feel we should be able to serve more than just that. Therefore, seltzer is just fine. Do I drink it? No. But I also don't like non-alcoholic seltzer. So, like, I'm not a good test subject for that.
Is it a game you're going to think of getting into?
I don't even have enough, fermenter space for the beers I want to brew as is. So
that would be a no. That would be a hard.
Yeah,
I'd
much rather dedicate a tank to another lager, seeing as I'm on the lager room.
Exactly.
But
and based on that, Brian before said, based on the fact that you were drinking the Hallertau Pilsner, he says, yes, somebody gets the theme. Not me or you, Dave. Jason,
we may have to fire our producer.
Yeah.
Again.
Gotta love it.
Oh, no, we didn't fire him as producer. We just took away his number one fan status.
We took away his number one fan status, absolutely.
Yes.
So, So, well, the other, I got one more trivia question for you there, both of you. Where do these stairs go?
They go up.
They go up.
There you go.
I got one more for you, and it's beer related.
Go for it.
You may know this one. Which nation drinks the most beer per capita?
Poland.
You would think, and I'm Polish, so I would like to think that Poland's in the top 10, I believe, but it's not Poland. John, you got a guess?
India.
No.
And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense because in this particular nation, beer is actually cheaper than bottled water.
I mean, that's just Eastern Europe in general.
Mexico.
Czech Republic.
Okay. I remember, I was in Prague, and that definitely happened to me. A Star Pramen was like 50 euro cents. I'm not sure if it's euro cents, if that's the actual term.
It's probably just
half a euro, maybe. Yeah. Star Pramen was half a euro at, a corner store. A bottle of water was one. And I'm like, well, that's simple.
Let me think about this one.
Number two. Who's number two?
Number two. Oh, what country's number two? Or
what country's number two?
Country's number two. Is this per capita?
Per capita.
England.
No.
Ireland.
Stay in the same part of the world.
Oh, okay.
Hungary.
Yes, I am a little hungry. Close. They used to be in an empire with this nation.
I mean, if it's
that would be Austria. Yeah, Austria. Believe it or not, Germany is number 3.
Germany's number 3.
I can take that. Yeah.
Czech Republic, Austria, then Germany.
Do you know where we sit?
Where do we sit?
7.
21st.
Really?
We are behind Namibia.
I blame Utah.
Yes, let's blame Utah.
Let's blame Utah.
Yeah.
There you go. We're behind Namibia.
We are behind Namibia and the Seychelles.
Where was beer first brewed?
Beer was Uzbekistan?
Close. Yes
Kazakhstan.
and no. Egypt.
Yeah. That's actually, that goes back and forth because they think that the plains of the stands, that whole region there, created the grains necessary to brew beer. But you even have the first ever recipe written was for beer, and that was in Mesopotamia. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of regions that claim to be the first to have brewed beer.
Well, we'll have to put our crack staff on that and find out exactly. Brian, could you take a trip over to Egypt and Mesopotamia to?
Oh, that means we have to hire him back, don't we?
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Any other trivia questions? Or are you good on that one?
I'm done with that. Those are my two.
So, well, I want to, Jason, don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap up the show. Don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you for a second. Want to thank everybody for paying attention today. We'll wrap up the show with that. Cheers to Jason. Thanks for coming on the show.
Jason, thanks for coming on. And Jason, the rest of this he reads.
Cheers.
I think you'd have it memorized by now, John.
I kind of do, but I always just, cover my ass. So, all right, we'll wrap up the show for today. We want to thank everyone for watching, and those of you that are just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website, www.lagerroom.com. That's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel. All of them are at The Lager Room. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Tuesday night at 5:30. For those of you that want to just listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you'll never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great week and a wonderful weekend. In the spirit of the sports podcast, football NFL playoffs start this weekend, wild card weekend. So watch them and enjoy a lot of beer while you do it. Make sure if you're in the area, get down and pick up some Icarus beer. Once again,
you passed right over the NCAA championship.
Yeah, and go Bucks.
With Jason sitting right there, you passed over the NCAA championship.
I wasn't done yet. I wasn't done yet.
Yeah, you give me a minute? You had forgotten.
I wasn't done yet. Cheers to Jason. I hope your team wins the NCAA championship. Thank you, is what I was going to say. It's written right here. Would you like me to send it to you?
Yeah, please.
All right, we'll do so. Here's to Ohio State. Hope they beat Nick Saban. And
that's a tough one for me because I'm sick and tired of watching Alabama win everything.
Well, that's why you want them to win, right? You want Ohio State to win.
But it's also my ex-father-in-law's team, so.
Yeah, so you're back and forth. When was the last time your ex-father-in-law? When was the last time you talked to your ex-father-in-law?
6 years ago. So
well, there you go.
But for Jason, go Buckeyes.
Go Buckeyes. There you go. The Ohio State. Hope you win. Sorry, Bob, but you already lost. So what can I say? But cheers. Thanks, Jason, for coming on with us. Have a great week, and we will talk to you soon, folks. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye, folks.